Good afternoon. In fact, whatever. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Guys, the world is literally falling apart, isn't it, around us? It's gone absolutely insane. If you live in the United Kingdom, you know there's been another incident today in Leicester Square involving an 11-year-old girl and a 34-year-old woman. Guys, there's a common theme here, isn't there? And it's the common theme of lawlessness. And this common theme of lawlessness is just expanding and expanding and expanding. And if you want to try and stop this lawlessness, you're labeled a far right, a far right thug. It's just absolutely insane. And I don't want to reiterate what I've said in my previous videos, but we are literally seeing when you put that lid on a boiling pot, it's still boiling. It's going to explode at some point. And I feel what we're seeing, and unless we take the, the pan off the heat, these things are just going to get worse. And it's absolutely ridiculous. But guys, in the International World War III update, which is, guys, we're moving closer and closer to this every single day. So the how do you call it, the conflict, I guess, in the Middle East, that's escalating further and further. The Israelis are now saying that this could happen within days, and a lot of people are saying that this will be, this will cause World War III, and this will be the starting point. The Russians, they're already talking about being in World War III. And what do I mean by that? I mean Russian state media, the Russian mainstream. As far as they're concerned, they are already at war with NATO. Now, if this conflict in the Middle East does escalate, and I'll show you that. In fact, let me share this with you guys real quick. Where are we? So this article here, guys, Iran will bear responsibility for attacking Israel, warns UK, France, and Germany. So here we are, guys. Israeli intelligence believes Tehran will strike within days, according to reports. London. Iran will bear responsibility for any attacks against Israel, which would further escalate regional tensions and jeopardize the chance of a ceasefire and hostage release deal. The leaders of the UK, France, and Germany have warned in a statement today. So that statement was going around. It was going around online somewhere. I definitely saw it. I think on X. So what we've got here then is the Israeli security services, intelligence services saying that they're going to be attacked in a couple of days. You've got a wider conflict and alliances, and these BRICS nations now banding together and thinking, okay, we need to start looking at our trade bloc. We need to start looking at our own finances and our own economy. And this is where, why things become really dangerous. So, as you know, the Israelis are expecting an attack at any time. And the Israelis have come out and they have said recently that any attack that we get, we're ready to respond. And that's the problem, because then we get escalation after escalation. And the reality is of the situation in the Middle East, I know a lot of you guys are saying that that's where World War III is going to start. But it looks like from these articles that, next couple of days that this could happen. And this would have a huge impact on the streets in the United Kingdom, because we're going to have more people out. And the whole system in the United Kingdom at the moment, it's just as much of a civil tinderbox as these international conflicts are, as a global tinderbox, because all these nations, they're just getting ready to fight. If you look at what's happening in Europe, and I know this doesn't get enough coverage. Your big arms manufacturers, you can't buy anything from these arms manufacturers anymore. They're all at full capacity, so they're churning out munitions as fast as they can, and all those munitions are already bought. See, where it used to be the case that an arms manufacturer would build stuff and then they would have it on stock and then they'd try and sell it. Now what you're getting is countries going to these manufacturers and saying, right, okay, I will book you as much as you can produce in 1 year, 2 years. I will buy everything. So these things, the money that's being made in these, these manufacturing facilities, It's absolutely huge. And that's why once all these, and all this ammunition being produced, being sent, being used, the more and more of this ammunition that gets deployed, the more likely it is that people are going to use it. And that's that's what really is terrifying. And people, and I've said this quite a few times, people are talking about, we can take over the Russians and we'll do this. Guys, people keep forgetting that Russia is the world's leading nuclear superpower. Now, guys, and I know there's the argument about, are the nuclear weapons maintained? Who's supplying them with tritium? Can they actually, it's okay having, 10,000 nuclear weapons or what they've got. Do they work? When was the last time they tested them? Because if you think back, well, I'm certainly not old enough, but I've read about it. If you think back to the Cold War, when America and Russia were facing off, in the space of a month, they were both Russia and, the Soviet Union were having nuclear tests and nuclear detonations, and they were testing new and bigger bombs. Every month they were doing 2 or 3 tests. At the moment, there's been none of these tests. Now, I genuinely don't know why, but that's the reality of the situation as we speak. Now, the latest from Ukraine, let me give you a quick update. I always like to go with this, where are we? Oh, I've missed it. Oh, there we are. Political, because they seem to be one of the more measured, news outlets. Up to 180,000 Russians flee Ukraine's continued offensive. Kiev's forces advanced further into Russian territory and have reportedly managed to repel Moscow's attempts to reinforce defending troops. So it's a lot harder it's a lot harder to defend than it is to take the ground. Where is it, guys? Here we are. So Alexander Smirnov, no relation to the vodka, or we don't know, the acting governor of the Kursk region told Russian leader Vladimir Putin on Monday that more than 120,000 people have left the region while another 60,000 were waiting to be evacuated. He told a clearly unamused Putin, can you imagine having to break that news to good old Vlad? He told an unamused Putin that Ukraine holds 28 towns and villages in the Kursk region. Oh, can you imagine that? Yes, Vladimir, we've lost 28 towns and villages, but it's okay. We have vodka. In the Kursk region, controlling an area 12 kilometers deep and 40 kilometers wide. So, the Ukrainians, they've taken a huge piece of ground now from the Russians. And, the Russians, they are going to respond. They're going to retaliate. Now, I don't know if this is orchestrated, if this is planned, but what you could have in the next couple of days, guys, from the articles we've just read, is both a huge Russian, retaliation and a huge Iranian retaliation. Now, are the Russians and Iranians allies? Yes. Do they have chains, communications chains? Yes. How do we know this? Well, they sell each other, they sell each other stuff. The Iranians sell the Russian Shahed drones. We know this. And, the speculation that Russians are helping the Iranians with nuclear technology. So, of course, they're going to have a chain of communication there, an encrypted chain of communication or whatever. Now, I'm going to speculate now that these two entities are going to consolidate their attacks, because if these two guys are allied, they want a limited Western response. So if they both attack at the same time, then the West can only focus, the West's focus will be split. And obviously, divide and conquer, it's hard, a split response is easier to deal with than a concerted response in either of these theatres of war. So that's the reality of the situation there, guys, all right? I'm speculating that we could have a dual-pronged attack, both Iran striking Israel and Russia with a huge retaliation into Ukraine. Now, another thing that's come about, guys, is this the Taylor Swift concerts that were cancelled in Vienna. Now, if you live in the UK, there's like I alluded to at the beginning of this video, it seems like there's a type of person that keeps being targeted, and It is girls. It's young, it's young girls, and we've seen this, with these attacks on young girls. And I don't know why. You can go back to the Ariana Grande, incident in Manchester when a lot of the guys. It was catastrophic. To the more recent stabbings, and then if we look over in Vienna, there's the Taylor Swift concert that's had to be cancelled. Now, Taylor Swift is due to be in the United Kingdom this month. Actually, let me. I think it is actually this month. Hang on, let me just check. Where are we? There we are. Right, let me see. Pop sensations, 3 concerts in Vienna. Yeah, before 5 nights of performances in London. Let me find the dates here, guys. Here we are. The cancellations come as fans prepare for the pop stars concert at Wembley Stadium, which are set to run for 5 nights this week, starting Thursday, the 15th of August. So that's when this Taylor Swift concert is starting. Now, I saw an interview, I think it was an interview with Sadiq Khan, and he was saying, that we host lots of these events and we have them all the time and we're working with the police. And he said something as well. He said we work with local councillors. And straight away I thought, well, is that a good thing? Because remember the video I did earlier, guys, about, we've got Hamza Yusuf, we've got this Dartford slasher, and we've got, is there people in council who would be potentially, condoning this? And I don't know if that's a thing. All I'm saying is from the evidence that we've seen, the evidence that I gave you in the last video, I'm saying, is that the case? We also saw in the Vienna attack, in the planned Vienna attack, one of the assailants who was arrested had actually got a job. I believe it was as security at that venue. It may not have been security, but they definitely got a job at that venue. Now, I think this could be, these concerts in Wembley that, Taylor Swift is doing. I think that's a huge target. Look at the appetite, not the appetite. Look at the atmosphere in the United Kingdom at the moment. I don't know what people have got against Taylor Swift, but it looks like, it's, Taylor Swift. I don't know, guys. You tell me what you think. But it seems like there's a concerted effort, and I think Taylor Swift may be like symbolizing something. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that I think we've got all this stuff heading towards, this crescendo. We've got the Israelis saying, this could happen in a couple of days. We've got a Taylor Swift concert happening in a couple of days. And we've got the Russians looking to retaliate against Ukraine in a couple of days. Guys, this all feeds into that same narrative that we said months ago when Andrew Bridgen came out and he said, war will be declared July, August, maybe a little bit later. Just look at the escalations that are happening now. Guys, like I just said on our other platform, which is down here somewhere, I think, right there. Hang on. That one. Like I just said on that platform, guys, right? The reason we started this channel is because there was no one out there explaining what's happening. There was no one out there telling people what was happening in these large geopolitical games and how these things fit in place, and how people can't do X and they can't do Y, and how people can do Y, and the legalities and the morals behind it. And a lot of this stuff comes down to culture. Now, the way I described culture, I can't remember which platform it was on, but the way I described culture was, if you live in the United Kingdom and you go to the seaside, you will expect to have fish and chips, a cold beer, and ice cream. Mr. Whippy. That, obviously not everybody's going to like Mr. Whippy. Not everyone's going to like fish and chips. Some people won't like beer. But as a general rule, if you go to the seaside, you will see people consuming those. Now, if you go to Eastern Europe and you go to the seaside, for example, with Ukrainians, they will have shashlik, vodka and pickles, and salu. And that's the reality. Now, knowing these two differences in cultures, we can start to make assumptions. Now, the problem is when we try and pretend all our cultures are the same, which they're clearly not. and that's kind of, why we need to understand these things, and we need to understand people as well as these policies, because it's all well and good us looking at a situation in another country, us looking at another country's culture with our Western eyes. You can't look at these things with Western eyes. You've got to understand the culture. You've got to understand the people, because like 9 times out of 10, they don't care. They don't care that I like fish and chips. The Ukrainians, they want their shashlik, and that is absolutely fine. Incidentally, I do like a good shashlik, guys, okay? And I am partial to a vodka. However, that salu, that's not for me, guys, all right? That is not for me. I will not touch that stuff. But you see where I'm going with that. We need to understand what makes people tick, and then we can understand what comes next. Because we sit here with our a lot of politicians do this as well. They sit there with Western eyes because they've been nowhere, because they left school, they went to university, they got their degree in geopolitics or politics, or I don't know, what's the one I saw earlier? They got their degree in contemporary movements. I don't even know what that is, but they've got a degree in contemporary movements, and now they're a politician, and they're dictating, and they're going away, and they're having these meetings with other state leaders. And guys, they don't understand the culture because they've never been there. They've never experienced those cultures. They've never lived in them. But anyway, guys, so I've just realized I'm waffling on. Jokes of this video. World War III could be started in a couple of days, as per, as what the Israelis say. Taylor Swift concert coming, Ukrainians, Ukraine, Russia's gonna, think Russia will be, escalating and fighting back against the Ukrainians in a big escalation at some point. We don't know when it's going to be exactly, but all pointers are looking like it's going to be in a couple of days. Guys, that is it. I'm going to back to grid, and I'll see you later.